check on them.
And that's why they were installed, to be a problem. Why they actually had not just Milley, but others came up with kind of an idea of how to, at the very least, slow any kind of coup down.
You know, Milley and the other Joint Chiefs, the heads of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the branches of the military, had meetings after the election to discuss what they would do if the president were to execute or issue, rather, an order that they considered unconstitutional, illegal, immoral, unethical. They would try to block it by resigning one by one in sort of a reverse Saturday Night Massacre to just prevent him from being able to execute those orders. That's a chilling thing to think about when this is the commander-in-chief with the nuclear code still in office until January 20th.
Carol, you and Philip sat down with the former president for 2.5 hours of interviews. I want to play part of the interview for the first time. It's about 5 minutes long, but you ask him about the January 6th and the insurrection, but it's an important part, so let's play that.
But what did you hope they would do when you said, go up there and stop this?
Well, I heard that people wanted to go down to, that wasn't my rally per se. There were a lot of people that spoke.
Yeah.
They had rallies the night before. They had speakers all over the city. You had hundreds of thousands of people. I would venture to say, I think it was the largest crowd I've ever spoken before. It went from that point, which is almost at the White House, to beyond the Washington Monument. It was, and wide. And
but if you could have waited,
and it was a loving crowd too, by the way. There was a lot of love. I've heard that from everybody. Many, many people have told me that was a loving crowd. And it was too bad. It was too bad that got that they did that.
There were just some.
But my statement.
But Mr. President, I apologize. What we're trying to understand is not blame, not castigate.
No, I understand.
We want to understand, what did you want when you said go up there? What would you have dreamed
I would have
for
said
them to do?
that you will show not to go in, although they were ushered in by the police. I mean, in all fairness, the Capitol Police were ushering people in. The Capitol Police were very friendly. They were hugging and kissing. You don't see that, but there's plenty of tape on that too. Because the Capitol Police that's the way it is. But personally, what I wanted is what they wanted. They showed up just to show support, because I happen to believe the election was rigged at a level like nothing has ever been rigged before. There's tremendous proof. Statistically, it wasn't even possible that he won. I mean, things such as if you win Florida and Ohio and Iowa, there's never been a loss. There was a
And
loss.
did you need better lawyers? Because they took it to court, but they didn't give enough evidence to convince the judges.
I needed better judges. The Supreme Court was afraid to take it. Don't forget, if you take all of everything out, take all of the dead people that voted, and there were thousands of them, by the way. We have lists of, obituaries, etc. If you take the illegal immigrants that voted, if you take the Indians that got paid to vote in different places, we had Indians getting paid to vote. Many, many different things. All election changing, not just, 12 people. I mean, all, because they were all very close. It's only in 5 places. If you take that, forget all of that. It's massive numbers, but forget all of that. If you take all of that, just look at one thing. The legislatures of the states did not approve all of the things that were done for those elections. And under the Constitution of the United States, they have to do that. And the Supreme Court, they didn't find fact. Don't forget, they didn't say, well, we disagree. They said, we're not going to hear the case. I'm very disappointed in the Supreme Court.
What do you think they were afraid of?
I guess they thought that it would be violent, maybe. And it was violent the other way, perhaps. I don't know. But I guess they thought that it would be violent. But the Supreme Court of the United States, in the Constitution, it says you can't have local politicians setting the rules. And they set the rules. Early voting, this voting, ballots, many, many different things. And these were Democrats going to Republican, with the exception of Nevada, which was a Democrat legislature. And by the way, they did for the most part approve, but they had things that they didn't approve. But the other ones had very little done, almost nothing. So they were setting illegally all of these rules, regulations, everything. Poll watchers who were absolutely brutalized and thrown out. We had no poll watchers allowed in buildings for days. Okay? It was an illegal, corrupt election, as bad as a third world country. Okay. So with that, the judges just would not rule. We had...
Well, can I one more beat on that? If you had bad judges, that's like 86 bad judges. Were they afraid? Some of them were people you appointed.
No, that's true. I'm not saying. I appointed them, and I was very disappointed in them.
I mean, there's so many. It's fascinating that I said this. This is like listening to Nixon drunk rambling, except he's not drunk. He's just rambling, and that he still is holding on to all these lies. The idea that poll watchers were brutalized, but there was love, nothing but love, and the police just ushered in these loving people into the Capitol on the day of the attack is sickening. I mean, it's stunning. This is this man was president of the United States. Hart, I don't even know what to really ask about it, but what was he doing during the attack? I mean, you have reporting in this book about he was unreachable.
Anderson, our reporting shows that the president, during the attack, was sitting in front of the television watching it unfold. At first, he was happy. He liked seeing hundreds, thousands of his own supporters with MAGA flags, with Trump MAGA hats on their heads, storming the Capitol in a show of force. He enjoyed that. He thought he was proud of it. When the shots were fired and it became deadly and violent, he became more concerned, according to people around him, and yet he didn't really act to do anything. He was AWOL as the commander-in-chief. It took Mike Pence, the vice president, whose own life was under threat at the Capitol, in the basement of the Capitol in hiding, to actually call the Pentagon and try to organize and mobilize a military response.
You also read that Ivanka Trump repeatedly, he was what? He was in the private dining room watching on television?
That's right.
And that he wouldn't take calls from people. Chris Christie, you report, tried to reach out to him, didn't take the call. Ivanka Trump would repeatedly come down to try to get him to do something?
Well, it was really an awkward time because you might remember that as protesters literally broke into the landing near the Senate and lawmakers were scrambling for their lives along with their staff who were barricading themselves away from people chanting for their heads. During that time, the president actually tweeted something criticizing Vice President Pence. Eventually that came down. But Ivanka was being asked by the chief of staff, Mark Meadows, to please come down here. Let's get your dad to say something, to call off the dogs, essentially. Ivanka went back and forth between her second floor office, back and forth multiple times at Meadows' request, trying to get it right, essentially, with the president, with her father. And many people told us different ways that she was described that day, and not extremely forceful at first, but she was also compared to the stable pony to come in and calm the racehorse. She was her father's stable pony.
Again, and we've seen, we should show the video of, the peace-loving folks full of love being ushered into the Capitol, and, you see
hugging and kissing.
Right. I mean, we have the video, of course, and we've all seen what the reality was. I mean, this is what they were facing. This is not Capitol Police officers ushering them in and even in the videos that we did see that, it was to kind of hold back the line by falling back because they were outgunned, outmanned.
That's absolutely right.
Were you surprised that he is still sticking to this? I mean, clearly this is a conversation he has at Mar-a-Lago around dinner tables when he crashes weddings on the golf course. This is what he talks about nonstop.
And it's not just this topic where he spewed lies to us in our interview. We talked to him for 2.5 hours, and on almost every topic, it was this sort of alternative reality playing out in his head. He brought up the fact, according to him, that he won the state of Arizona. Well, we all know he lost the state of Arizona. He lost the state of Arizona, in part, according to some of his advisors, because he was attacking John McCain, a hero in that state. And he brought it up and attacked John McCain in our interview. And it's just, again and again, he would say things that weren't true. as if they were true, as if when you enter Mar-a-Lago and sit there in the lobby, you're in a different universe with a different set of facts.
Yeah.